Watch right now in the Front News Project, Mislao, Moscow and the region under. UAV attack. Is the May 9 parade in question? The Battle of Kursk 2025. The Ukrainian armed forces are advancing again. Is Bryansk next in line? Crimea, once again under heavy attacks. The Russian army is amassing troops on the peninsula. Watch fiery, hot, and blazing footage from the front line right now. The bloody war continues. The war that Vladimir Putin and his entourage unleashed on Ukrainian soil. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces and the entire Ukrainian people in their fight for freedom continues. Greetings. This is Front News. This is Vladimir Timoshenko with you. For the next 30 minutes, you will get the truth about the war, which our journalists are uncovering from the hottest battle zones. So, are you ready? All right, then let us begin. And we start right away with exclusive material. Drones of, so to speak, unknown origin flew towards Moscow again. Explosions were heard in the Moscow region on the night of May 5th. In the Podolsk urban district, air defense was active due to the detection of drones allegedly moving towards the capital of the aggressor country. At this time, the Russian Strela plant in the Bryansk region went out of operation due to a precisely targeted attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. And as you understand, this enterprise was working for the Russian military-industrial complex. Additionally, Ukraine may receive another 1,800,000 shells from the Czech Republic, as well as a Patriot system from Israel. All the details in our next report. Let's watch.
Moscow under attack. Friendly drones paid a visit to Putin's capital.
Do you hear? This is...
Moscow Mayor Sobyanin stated that the Russian air defense allegedly repelled an attack by 4 drones. Nighttime bangs were also heard in the Moscow region.
Something's buzzing over there. There it flew off somewhere. I can't see a damn thing.
Due to the drone raid, Zaporizhzhia declared the carpet plan at Moscow's Vnukovo airport. This means the airport was neither receiving nor dispatching flights, and Domodedovo airport was also not operational.
I do not rule out the possibility that this nature of actions by the Russian authorities is a staging of events on the eve of May 9th with the aim of accusing the Ukrainian side of being uncooperative and accordingly violating the so-called unilateral peace agreements announced by the Russian Federation.
It also hit the Bryansk region. As a result of the attack, a massive fire broke out at the Strela plant in the village of Suzemka.
Wow, that plant is on fire. Amazing indeed.
According to some reports, the plant was put out of operation after the strike.
This enterprise is a key part of the Russian military-industrial complex. According to reports from the Russian side itself, this enterprise produces electronics for the Russian defense industry and collaborates with the Rostec Corporation. According to Russian reports, the plant was allegedly attacked using Grad, multiple rocket launcher systems. The enterprise itself is located in the Suzemsky district of the Bryansk region. However, according to other sources, the strike on the enterprise was carried out using unmanned aerial vehicles.
And while the Russians are calculating their losses, the Czech Republic continues to support Ukraine. As part of the cooperation, Kiev may receive 1.8 million units of artillery ammunition.
According to the EU's own estimates, the capacity of European partners to provide Ukraine with artillery shells by the end of 2025 is about 2 million shells. This significantly enhances the combat capability of Ukraine's defense forces and reduces the firepower advantage, which until recently was in favor of the Russian side.
In addition, Ukraine will receive a modernized Patriot air defense system, which was previously based in Israel. Negotiations are also underway with allies about the possible transfer of another system from Germany or Greece, according to the New York Times citing American officials.
The chances of obtaining it are quite high. It should be noted that currently there are 8 Patriot systems in Ukraine, but 2 of them are under repair. The Patriot is the only anti-aircraft missile system capable of countering aeroballistic targets. There is also the European equivalent SAMP-T, but they are limited in number. Therefore, acquiring 2 Patriots is a very significant enhancement of Ukraine's air and missile defense system.
Additionally, the first photos of the Magura V-7C drone have appeared online, which Ukrainian forces used to destroy 2 Russian Su-30 fighters.
The tactical and technical characteristics of the Magura V7, its length is about 8 meters, while the length of the Magura V5 is 5.5 meters. The Magura V7 has a modified nose shape which implies improved seaworthiness. The Magura V7C drone is equipped with air-to-air missiles with infrared guidance. These are AIM-9 missiles. It should be noted that the choice of these particular missiles is not accidental. They are the most widely used.
The destruction of the Russian Su became the first ever elimination of a combat aircraft by a sea drone.
Well, now it's time to analyze the operational situation on the Kharkiv and Kupiansk fronts. The bloody frenzy of the enemy's army continues here as well. In the Kharkiv direction, Ukrainian units repelled an attack near Vovchansk. The city of Zolochiv was subjected to an airstrike. Kupiansk direction. Here, the enemy attacked our troops' positions 4 times in the areas of Zarizove, Novusinove, and Hlushkivka. 2 attacks were repelled, and 2 are still ongoing. And the long-suffering, ravaged Ukrainian Kharkiv is once again under brutal enemy fire. 6 injured individuals remain in hospitals after the night attack on Kharkiv. The occupiers once again used drones with thermobaric warheads, which cause massive destruction and, most horrifyingly, numerous terrible consequences for people. In total, 51 injured people sought medical help. Damage has been recorded in 4 districts of the city. TSN correspondent Yulia Boyko will provide more details about the consequences of the night attack.
This is the Slobitsky district of Kharkiv. It was here that a kamikaze drone hit parked cars. As a result of the explosion, a fire broke out, which was extinguished over several hours. Currently, the night attack is evidenced here by a burned car, shattered windows in houses, and a damaged store. This is just one of the locations where Shaheds hit during the night. A total of 17 drones. 4 districts of the city were under attack. Private houses, apartment buildings, and infrastructure facilities were damaged.
Very scary. Very scary. If I hadn't left 5 minutes earlier, I don't even know what would have happened to me. Everything is covered in glass. Do you see how much we're carrying out? Look, I have the 6th floor, 2 of my windows. Fortunately, I went out into the corridor, all the windows blew out. We heard the Shaheds. At first, we only heard the sound and went into the corridor. Then we could hear them exploding and the windows blowing out.
At one of the locations, an explosive device was found, likely an unexploded charge. It is currently being examined by bomb technicians. It is suspected to be a cluster element, similar to the recent attack on Kiev.
After a similar charge was found in Kiev, we need to be very, very careful because anything can happen. And until the bomb technicians have finished their work, no one should come near or take anything from the area.
According to the latest data, 51 people sought medical assistance, 14 of them with injuries from glass shards. Others have an acute stress reaction. 6 injured people remain in the city's hospitals, including an 11-year-old child. All night, ambulance crews and rescuers worked at the impact sites. Despite the threat of repeated strikes, while aid stations for the victims are currently operating in the city, utility workers, bomb technicians, and the State Emergency Service are on the job.
And now we move to the Novopavlovsk and Gulyaipol front directions. The Russian world continues to destroy, kill, and maim here as well. In the Novopavlovsk direction, 8 enemy attacks were repelled in the areas of Novopol, Novoselka, Privolnoye, Komar, and towards Otradnoye. 2 more attacks are ongoing. Novopol and Novodarovka were subjected to airstrikes. Gulyaipol direction. Here, 4 attacks were repelled in the area of Vysokoye, and 1 more battle is ongoing. An airstrike was carried out on Zhelezno Dorozhnoye. Meanwhile, in the temporarily occupied Crimea, things are heating up again. Near the city of Saki, a radar station of the S-400 Triumph anti-aircraft missile system was destroyed. But these are far from all the losses of the enemy on the temporarily occupied peninsula. According to the Ukrainian GUR, Russia is afraid of losing Crimea, so it is strengthening its military presence there. In a minute, you will learn the details. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian armed forces will have more weapons. The White House, has approved the first export of weapons to Ukraine worth $50 million through direct commercial sales to Kiev. But there is also troubling news from the front. The Russians are trying to reach the administrative border of the Dnipropetrovsk region. This is already being directly stated by Alexander Syrsky. It seems that Putin wants to present reaching the administrative border of Dnipropetrovsk as a great victory to his population during the victory parade on May 9th. We have prepared all the details, especially for you.
2 occupiers were killed and wounded. This is the work of the GOR warriors over the past week. Also, during the specified period, scouts on the front destroyed and hit 26 Russian vehicles, 4 armored vehicles, 4 artillery systems, 7 attack drones, 6 communication antennas, 4 electronic warfare systems, and more than 140 enemy engineering and fortification structures. In these frames, the work of the pilots of the 59th Brigade against the enemy during the assault on Avdiivka in Donbass. In the temporarily occupied Crimea, near the city of Saki, a radar station of the S-400 Triumph anti-aircraft missile system was destroyed. And this is far from an isolated case. Apparently, the Russians cannot protect the peninsula they have occupied, which is why they are concentrating their troops there.
Today we see that the process, or rather the stage, of demilitarization of Crimea is ongoing. And today we are talking about the destruction of military facilities on the territory of the temporarily occupied peninsula. Today we are talking about the fact that among these objects, first and foremost, is the airfield infrastructure, the air defense infrastructure, in order to enable our other forces to operate more actively, for example, in the sky.
Nevertheless, the situation on the front of the Ukrainian-Russian war is dynamic. The Ukrainian Defense Forces have advanced towards the Kursk region, which, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense's narrative, is completely liberated, as well as near Toretsk in the Donetsk region. At the same time, the army of the aggressor country Russia has advanced near Lyman and in the Toretsk direction.
In some locations, unfortunately, there is tactical advancement of the enemy in certain directions. And there are improvements in our tactical positions, particularly around Toretsk. Although the situation in the mentioned areas does not remain very difficult, and Lyman is a very difficult situation, as are Toretsk and Kursk, because the enemy is trying everywhere to make the most of everything they have today, to press in these directions and attempt to fulfill at least their tactical objectives.
The occupiers do not abandon hope of breaking through to the administrative borders of the Dnipropetrovsk region.
We clearly see that this whole topic of Dnipropetrovsk has emerged precisely among Russian propagandists and the Russian command. A large informational accompaniment, a major informational psychological special operation, is being conducted by the Russian side, because Putin needs some statements about victories, but there are none. On the other hand, we are responding to all these challenges. I am speaking about the Defense Forces, and Commander-in-Chief Syrsky has given his assessment, as well as what the Defense Forces will be doing in this direction in the near future.
There is more news for Ukrainian defense. The White House has approved the first export of weapons to Ukraine, worth $50 million through direct commercial sales to Kiev. This happened immediately after the signing of a deal for Americans to use Ukrainian mineral resources.
We are talking to us about partnership relations and the fact that Ukraine can also use a commercial format to acquire these types of weapons that we need today. Therefore, it is evident that mutually beneficial cooperation and the economic security of our country are also the national security of our state.
What is the real difference between the Russian and Ukrainian armies? Ukrainians protect people, while Russians kill. According to Russian telegram channels, at night, a Russian serviceman, reportedly possibly under the influence of drugs, entered the home of the Lyman family with many children in the village of Girie, Kursk region, under the pretext of checking documents and shot the couple. 41-year-old Olesya Larina died from gunshot wounds. Her husband was in intensive care. The couple's children were unharmed.
Well, now let's analyze in detail the operational situation on the much-suffering Pokrovsk direction of the front. Let's be honest, this is another sacred goal for Putin and his entire entourage. Accordingly, the situation here is also extremely tense. In the Pokrovsk direction, 32 attempts by the enemy to advance in the areas of Sukhaya Balka, Staronikolayevka, Vodyanoye II, Novotoretskoye, Shevchenko, Udakhnoye, Uspanovka, Kotliarovka, Troitskoye, Bogdanovka, and Andrievka have been recorded. 21 attack was repelled. Airstrikes were also carried out on Shevchenkovo. First, Novaya Poltavka, Sukhoyar, Pokrovsk, Kotlino, and Udakhnoye across the sea. The Russian occupiers are trying to terrorize Odessa. It is from there, I mean the Black Sea, that Shaheeds enter Odessa, the region, and other areas to damage infrastructure and continue to terrorize civilians. Recently, there have been more frequent cases where Russian occupiers try to pave the way for sea drones. All of this is being countered in our Black Sea with the help of boats. TSN journalist Natalia Nagornaya returned from a sea patrol. We present her exclusive report for your attention.
This patrol boat is defending Odessa.
Unfortunately, I don't see any truce at sea.
It goes out to sea during air raids.
We have traveled this route multiple times.
Its crew shoots down drones that are flying towards the city.
It was a sleepless night. I slept for about 2 hours.
This is our report from our sea. It may seem like a leisurely sea trip, but in reality, it's a patrol by the Naval Forces boat. The commander says we are on the maritime front line.
The Black Sea is a line of combat engagement. We are currently at the 0 point with you.
The task of the boat is to make this area as safe as possible, even for cargo ships. Right now, I'm looking at the so-called grain corridor. This vessel has already loaded our grain and it is moving across the world. Vladimir is very familiar with this route.
Yes, we have traveled this route many times.
Previously, this vessel was in service with the US Coast Guard. The Island-class boat is fast and has been in these waters for 6 years now.
At first it was quite difficult to keep it on a certain course, especially when the storm is 2 to 3 points, the boat deviates significantly from the course. But over time, let's say, I learned to keep it on course very well. So now it's not very difficult for me.
Such patrol boats in the Black Sea perform 3 main functions. The first is searching for mines here. The second is functioning as air defense and searching for drones in the sky. And the third is operating against enemy ships. Danil monitors the maritime front line. He looks out for mines on the water's surface, and during air raids, he watches for drones in the sky.
I identify aerial targets during air raids, drones, missiles, and report them.
Danil says here, at sea, he feels even safer than in the city, even when large enemy drones explode nearby.
If you hear it, you're glad that at least you heard it, and you're alive, at least in this precious moment, truly appreciating the sound.
Dennis is directly involved in shooting them down.
The sea is in my blood.
He is from Odessa and has been going to sea on combat missions for 3.5 years. He started as a radio operator, but his true passion is his anti-aircraft gun.
This is the U-2M3 anti-aircraft installation.
Dennis is the youngest of both this boat and his weapon. The night before our joint patrol, he hardly slept and tried to shoot down the Shaheeds, which were massively flying towards Odessa during the storm.
When the combat readiness number 1 was announced, my entire body armor and helmet were wet. There was this much water on the seat. I quickly wiped it off with my hand, put on the body armor and helmet, and that was it.
He has already shot down more than 1 Shahed, and he talks about it with enthusiasm.
The adrenaline was really high, and with the help of the commander, he guided me, because it's dark at sea and they are almost invisible. I can't see them. The commander has a radar through which he sees them, guides me, tells me the distance, how to aim, and gives the command to open fire.
The commander of the patrol boat is Mikhail. He has been patrolling the sea here for 6 years and in the last 3, he hasn't seen a maritime truce.
Unfortunately, contrary to the statements of the disrespected Mr. Vladimir Putin, there is no truce at sea, in the Black Sea. I can tell you this with full confidence, both during the 30-day ceasefire, when it was declared, and during this one-day Easter truce. The enemy's electronic warfare systems were still operational, and their reconnaissance systems were active.
Mikhail explains, the drones to Odessa fly differently each time.
Each route is unique, each trajectory is unique.
But lately, there are more threats not from the air, but specifically from the water. Thus, the Russians are charting routes with unmanned marine drones.
Firstly, they carry a large amount of hexogen in fuel equivalent. This amount can vary from 150 kilograms to 400, which is a lot, 400 kilograms.
Of course, it would be easier to resist the Russian occupiers encroaching on our Black Sea if we had a greater number of such boats.
The US has 3 of them. Our Ukrainian ones, officially already transferred, are all accounted for. But for now, we cannot obtain these boats that are in the US.
The Americans were supposed to decommission, repair, and send 3 more of these boats to Ukraine. Mikhail was supposed to oversee this process as the commander of the US mission. But Donald Trump froze the program almost immediately after his inauguration, and the order was given to return the mission to Ukraine.
After everything was decided, we were given a week to prepare to go home.
As of now, this stage of American support remains on hold. But despite everything, the Ukrainian Navy continues to defend Odessa, the ports, and the world's food security.
But now an analysis of the situation on the Lyman, Kramatorsk and Toretsk fronts. The enemy is becoming increasingly aggressive here as well. On the Lyman front, the occupiers carried out 13 attacks in the areas of Rekivka, Novo-Mikhailivka, Novo, Kolodyazi, Mirne, and towards Zelenaya Dolina. 5 clashes are ongoing. Kramatorsk direction, 3 enemy attacks in the areas of Kurdyumivka and Bilahora, with 1 battle still ongoing. On the Toretsk direction, 2 enemy attacks were repelled in the areas of Toretsk and Ozaryanivka. Another clash is still ongoing. More than 30 civilians were injured, including 2 children, all consequences of the massive drone attack on Zaporizhzhia. As always, treacherously and cynically, the Russians shelled the city with 10 shaheds at night. Explosions were heard in different areas. Apartment buildings, private houses, a university, and infrastructure facilities were destroyed. More about the consequences of the attack and the condition of the victims is known by TSN journalist Kira Ois.
This night, the residents of this high-rise experienced a real hell. One of the Russian drones flew directly into the building. The apartments on the upper floors were completely destroyed. A large-scale fire broke out. In these shots, you can see the houses burning. This is a dormitory where about 100 people lived. Rescuers are extinguishing the fire and saving victims from under the ruins.
Let us all work together.
As a result of the attack, more than 36 people were injured, including 2 children. Victims continue to seek medical attention throughout the day. Most are being treated on an outpatient basis, but all 7 are under medical supervision.
1 woman remains in serious condition in the intensive care unit. She suffered burns and her condition is now stabilizing while the men are in the surgical ward. They are in a moderate condition.
75-year-old Lyudmila suffered burns to her arm and leg. The woman refused hospitalization. After the enemy strike, the apartment she lived in turned into complete ruins. At the time of the attack, she was at home but managed to run into the corridor when the Russian drones attacked.
It was roaring loudly. They were buzzing one after another, about 12 of them, probably more. And the last one, when it hit, that's where it caught fire and spread here.
It caught fire there and started burning.
People are taking out everything that survived from the shattered apartments after the terrible night. Rescuers are helping to find documents and valuable items under the rubble.
Work was done to dismantle the slabs and cover the roofs using a crane. Our guys were able to remove them. Now we are helping the apartment residents with the evacuation of surviving property and in searching for documents.
Natalia, like her neighbors, is collecting the surviving belongings. She, along with her husband, moved to Zaporizhzhia from the frontline town of Huliai-Pole. But the enemy reached them here as well. She says that after the impact, all the doors got jammed at Teretapa, and they had to cut the window bars to rescue the children from the smoke-filled rooms.
The doors downstairs got jammed. The door downstairs got jammed. We couldn't get out until they arrived. On the first floor, they cut and pulled out the bars first, rescuing the children.
In total, though, the enemy attacked residential buildings, infrastructure facilities, and a university with at least 10 Shaheds. One of the drones hit a kindergarten. All the windows in the building were shattered, and the facade was damaged. The institution is now looking for a new place.
They will provide another location so that we do not interrupt the educational process. That is, it will most likely be a location in a school where there is a shelter. Regarding the scale, we can say this. If we have 285 windows, almost 2 of them survived. All the others are damaged.
The locomotive repair plant in Zaporizhzhia was also hit, as reported by Ukrzaliznytsia. A fire broke out at the facility, which was only extinguished by morning. The workers were in a shelter, so no one was injured. In total, the Russians hit 3 districts of the city.
We can already talk about approximately 30 apartment buildings that are damaged. The private sector educational institutions. Behind me, you see a dormitory. That is completely uninhabitable.
Points of resilience have been set up at the impact sites in Zaporizhzhia. Utility workers, emergency rescue services, and volunteers are working. They say it will take at least a few days to eliminate the consequences. That's all for today. But very soon on Front News, there will be new unique materials from our journalists in the hottest spots of the war, obtained so that you know the truth. This was Vladimir Timoshenko with you. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.